Hello, everyone's Forest Focus. Nottingham Forest prepare for European football with plans for a big summer business. We'll discuss a list of reported targets and the news that Taiwo Awoniyi has had to undergo surgery, as I'm joined by Michael Temple. And we'll also discuss a statement that's just come out, by the way, from the club. It's quite interesting reading, to say the least, as well. Michael Temple, how are you?
I'm all right. I think the consensus was I was a little bit negative yesterday. I'm surprised you asked me back.
Well, Fletch was very positive, wasn't he? So, yeah, which is good.
He convinced me, actually. And I think just to wrap that up, when we do reflect, we will look back on this as a great season. But I think it's fair that some of us, me included, have had this little period of disappointment. And I think the players will be disappointed too. But yeah, what a fantastic season. Can't take anything away from what's been achieved.
Oh, I'm disappointed as well about not getting Champions League. I think that's human nature, isn't it? Because you dream of what might be. And I think you're right. Paul Anderson's on tomorrow. I'll pick up on that about the player mentality, because they're elite athletes and they'll set themselves those targets. So I'm sure, they're gutted as well, certainly. Right, we'll talk about these transfers first of all. Then, based on an article by John Percy in the Telegraph. Do check it out if you haven't already. There's loads of details in there around Forest summer transfer plans. He seems to do one of these about this time every year, and they're always a good read. So he says we're targeting at least 5 signings, listed as 2 forwards, a left back, 2 wingers, and a keeper. Ironically, that's 6 players, but the article does say at least 5, so we'll let him off there. All in around the 20 to 30 million pound bracket. And it's also based around the future of Morgan Gibbs-White as well, which would impact things, but there's going to be departures no matter what. So the players mentioned are Liam Delap, James McAtee, Mateus Fernandes, and Adrien Truffert, who's a left-back for Rennes. So there's 4 players listed, and it also says Moreno will go back to Aston Villa. So I'll have a chat with Temps a little bit on each of those players. Some we're more familiar with than others. Drop your comments in the chat as well. Good to have over 100 people with us at the shortest of short notice. So drop what you think about these players in as we go along. We'll start with Delap, because we're probably the most familiar with him. 22 years old, obviously. 12 Premier League goals for Ipswich in a poor team. And the other bit in the article, it says Man U and Chelsea are keen, and it does indicate that Forest would be swimming against the tide there. I guess Temps, especially if Man U get Champions League, that would perhaps put them in the driving seat, even above Chelsea still.
Yeah, it's the one that excites us the most, isn't it? It's the one that's hardest to do. And I think there's relatively little chance of us signing Liam Delap, because he'll be courted with teams that can take a bit more of a punt, provide the finance, and give him that opportunity to play at the very highest level. I think what he would gain from coming to a club like ours is that he would be guaranteed more minutes. He'd have more of an influence in the team. And at the tender age of 22, this doesn't have to be the defining move of his career. If he comes in, does well 2 years, 3 years, he'll be able to move on if that's what he needs to do. So I can see why an agent of a certain mind and a player of a certain mind constructing a career might look for that kind of Holland to Dortmund type move before he dives into his ultimate destination. But I do feel, given that he's proven himself in the Premier League, there will be suitors of the ilk that you've described. And yes, if Man United do find themselves in the Champions League, there'll be a destination that will impress young, talented, English qualified players.
The articles, it also says that Johan Rees is on the list. Also, we looked in Germany and France as well. Do you think probably realistically we might end up with a name we've never heard of, and we'll end up with is that someone from Bundesliga or something like that in the end?
Yes, I think what this list also means is the type of profile of player that Forest want to sign, and then looking for those lookalikes that are kind of similar but different. So if we weren't to sign Liam Delap, which of the players are out there that have a similar set of attributes, have maybe had similar goal scoring profiles in lesser divisions, that make them a slightly more realistic prospect. But I think it's important that once you've identified a type of player that your team requires, the players at the top of your list are the very best in that position, irrespective of finance. And you work your way down when those deals become hard to do. So I don't mind the fact that Forest have put out a list that may seem something of a dream ticket or somewhat unrealistic, because it demonstrates again that this recruitment team are aware of what they need, and if they can't get their first suitor, there'll be 2 or 3 other names behind that they can move on to.
Excellent. Right. Let's move on to McAtee then. Another player we know pretty well. 22 as well. Plays for Man City. Attacking midfielder, can play wide or number 10. 7 goals this season. 1 in the Champions League. 3 in the FA Cup, which were against Salford. So there's a bit of a tariff there, obviously. And the rest in the Premier League. I suppose an interesting about him is he's had a season on loan in the Premier League as well with Sheffield United, playing in a really poor team. Importantly, without the ball a lot of the time. So we know he can do that side of the game as well, and he's got some experience of it. I suppose the other factor tempting this one is the Gibbs-White deal. Does it feel like this could be one that we could use to our advantage to get something done here?
Yeah, look, I wouldn't celebrate James McAtee being a make weight in a Morgan Gibbs-White deal, because I'd rather keep Morgan Gibbs-White. But when we spoke about James McAtee a couple of weeks ago, we noted that whilst ostensibly an attacking midfielder, he is comfortable out wide, extremely comfortable in traffic, always wants the ball, a player that you can trust to have it in any third, and he looks to make a positive impact on the game. I think he needs a move. I think he leaves Man City this summer, and this one seems eminently possible and the kind of player that would improve our squad. But I wouldn't personally celebrate him being a make weight in a deal for Morgan Gibbs-White.
And as well, PSR, he's homegrown. I mean, do Man City have problems with PSR or not? I don't know, but
does it apply to them? Does it apply to Man City?
Exactly. We look at Cole Palmer as well. You do wonder if that could be, something that City are going to exploit. To the, like you say, it probably makes him likely to move this summer, because they're going to do big business, aren't they? No matter what.
Yeah, they have to, don't they? I mean, it's a year of transition. It's going to be a year of upheaval. The departure of Kevin De Bruyne, the arrival of Marmoush, and the impact that he's had. Question mark over the future of Jack Grealish. You just cannot see a way for James McAtee to break through, and it's not going to do him much good to be a bit part player at that age, having had a loan and having had a season of scrapping for minutes. So because of PSR and the book value that he'll attract as an academy product, his age profile and keenness, I'm sure, to play first team football week in, week out, he needs a move, the type of player that we need. But I'll just repeat the first point that I made. If the reason we get him is a make weight in the Morgan Gibbs-White deal, I'd rather keep Morgan Gibbs-White. If he forces that move, which is well within the realm of possibility. We've said before, Man City won't have too much of a problem with finance and wages, so you can see why him and his representatives might push for that. So it's not a terrible outcome. But in assessing the player, yeah, look, he's exciting. He's only going to get better, and he's at that age profile, isn't he, where we could add value and not find ourselves in the position we were in the dark days of years gone by, when we're signing a journeyman on the way down. Very much a player who's on the way up, and I think he'll get better for having regular first-team football.
Sorry, I'm properly back with you now. While you've been talking, I've been clicking on this club statement and trying to read it. It got deleted. It's back now, so we will go to that. I'll dip into the chat a little bit. Lots of thumbs up for Liam Delap and McAtee. I can see a couple of shouts. Mateta as well, who could be going. He's only got a year left on his contract, so I like this. We'll get into names as well, I'm sure, as we go along. Right, let's talk about the other player that's domestically based. Mateus Fernandes, signed, I think, from Sporting Lisbon. I should have checked that before I started. 20-year-old central midfielder. He's had a full season in the Premier League. He's played in 34 of their 35 games or 36 games so far. Portuguese under-21 international. Very well liked by Southampton fans. He came off in a game recently and they chanted his name for absolutely ages. I was reading online. I've seen a bit of him, Temps. I know you've seen a bit and you've just been watching the highlights reel, which doesn't tell the full picture, but you like what you've seen so far or not?
Yeah, look, he's a good player, the outstanding young player in the second worst Premier League of all time. So I don't think he comes in and troubles Elliot Anderson in that kind of all-round midfielder role, which is, I think, what I see him as, having seen limited highlights in a few of his appearances. He's combative. He's very defensively sound. He's a ball winner, but that's to pigeonhole him, because he also does have a trick in him, an eye for goal, a good range of passing, and he's mobile. You talk about central midfielders needing to do 2 of, score goals, make goals, stop goals. I think he would see himself ultimately as having the potential to do the lot. If he can do it consistently in the Premier League is another ask. But at 20 years old, with that amount of first team football under his belt, I fully understand why we'd be interested in a player of that type.
Let's have a look at a few other comments. Danscape says he looks a proper player. He certainly does. I like what I've seen as well. I watched a game against Arsenal where he stood out as a talent. So I'm not surprised.
Doesn't look raw at all, does he? Doesn't look raw. No. Looks very accomplished for that age.
Yeah, really solid on the ball in a really poor team. I know Southampton play that way, so he fits what they want him to do. But I think he probably fits what we will want to do next season, have a bit more of the ball. Because I think, going off topic here, Thames, teams have just decided in the last 8 or 9 games, give us the ball and say break us down, haven't they? They're viewing us in a totally different ways than probably pre-Christmas, I guess, aren't they?
Yeah, we've had more possession, haven't we, since teams have worked out that we're less comfortable with it, and it kind of negates Anthony Langer in particular, one or two others running into space and attracting that ball in behind. They've kind of played our own game by being deep and compact and giving us 2 banks to try and break down, and we've struggled. But that's what happens. You have success, people try to replicate it or nullify it, and it becomes harder to win games using the formula that served you so well. And that's pretty much been the pattern of our season. Long spell of incredible form where people couldn't break us down, couldn't resist our breaks, and our chance conversion was extremely high. That's not been the case in the last few weeks, and we've really struggled to put together that run of results. But you need more than one way to play, and I think that's the next evolution of this side. And signing dynamic players of the ilk of the 3 we've just described can only help that, because it will give us the depth, and it'll mean that when we have to go to the well with 4 games in 2 weeks, or just that accumulation of injuries, knocks, and tiredness towards the back end of the season, we'll be that much better equipped than we have been this time around, or at least over the past few weeks.
Over 200 people with us, which is great. Do us a favour, hit like if you haven't already. We'll look at the left back shortly, but it's just on the keeper. There's no keepers named in it, but there'll be names around. Ollie mentions Kelleher and Ramsdale. I know Mark Southerns is such a huge fan of Kelleher. He'd probably still take him. Jay says about Mads Hermansen, who plays for Leicester and I think lives in Nottingham as well. I do like Hermansen. It's a tricky one, isn't it, signing a keeper this summer? Because Matt Sells, it feels completely nailed. You need another good keeper who's going to push him, but not going to be happy sitting on the bench like a Kelleher or a Ramsdale. Not going to come here, are they?
I think Mark called that out in our WhatsApp group, didn't he? Like, why would Kelleher leave Liverpool as the backup, where he's going to be competing in all competitions and have a fair amount of cup games and accumulate a few medals, than come and sit on our bench? We lose Carlos Miguel. I think we knew that was happening when he dropped those crosses in the cup. We called that would be his last appearance, and so it's borne out. But should we be too concerned about who our backup is, given how highly we rate Matt Sells? I fully expect him to be our number 1 next season, and I wouldn't be too concerned if the keeper that came in was obvious backup. I don't think I'm looking for us to spend too much of our stack on someone to give the coaches too much to think about. I'm happy to back Matt Sells, provided that we've got adequate backup who can see us through early rounds of cups, and be there if called upon. But he's proved to be very resilient, and there's nothing to suggest that he's the kind of guy that needs to miss 10 games a year.
A few Sunderland players getting thrown in. I know we hate Sheffield United, but we quite like Sheffield United to go up, because there are good Sunderland players that are out there. Will mentions Patterson, the goalie, who had a spell at Notts County, looked really good. Simon also says we do have Matt Turner coming back. Don't forget him. Arthur Okonkwo, who I think is the Wrexham keeper, getting a shout from Michael. A couple of people saying about this player, Emega. I don't know if I'm even saying that. That's the hipster shout, because he plays for Strasbourg, and I've seen nothing of him in League One, unless it's someone else that I'm missing. And I say Sunderland because Scott says about Chris Rigg, who's a player that we picked out as well. So yeah, I wouldn't mind Sheffield United going up. Let's look at the left back then before we wrap up the transfer chat. If I'm saying this right, Adrien Truffert, who is left back for Rennes, 23 years old, 2 full France caps, played in the Olympics for France as well, 10 games there, but I don't think they count for full caps. He's in the final year of his deal. He's an attack-minded left back. And interestingly, Temps was saying before we started recording, I was reading about him, when Villa signed Alex Moreno, he was in the frame for that as well. So probably the same profile as player, but might do more of what Nuno was hoping Moreno would do.
Yeah, I'd welcome a genuine scrap at fullback, despite being a massive fan of Nico Williams and Awoniyi. I think that you're more likely to accommodate minutes for a player of this quality, particularly given that both of those players can operate on either side. I think Nico Williams has improved immeasurably this season. I know we don't give out the most improved award. It's kind of a bit of a make weight in Sunday football, isn't it? But Nico Williams would win it for me. I think he's won a lot of people over, and he's starting to fulfill himself. Well, Awoniyi has just been a model of consistency when he's been fit and played. Now he's been one of the first names on the team sheet. So yeah, this feels like that kind of signing we've described, giving us a level of depth and genuine competition in a position that isn't a weakness, but we're going to be competing on multiple fronts, and there's no way you can get 50 games out of a modern fullback. That position's become too labour intensive and it's exhausting, isn't it? The manner in which those players operate. We see Awoniyi leaves absolutely everything on the pitch every single game. So I'd welcome this kind of signing. I need to do some research to pass comment on the merits of Truffert specifically, but yeah, I can see why a player of this profile would suit our requirements at this point in our development.
Good. A few people seem to have seen more of him, say he's decent as well, and a few referencing players we do have to come back in. My namesake, I don't know, I said Matt D. I assume his surname's Davies there, might not be. Olmo Delap to come back in, O'Brien as well, and players like that. So, and I think a lot of those are going to go. So it's going to generate some funds, certainly. Right, we'll go take a word for the Trent navigation in 1 second, and then we'll talk about Taiwo, his injury, and this club statement. So, talking about the Trent navigation, West Ham versus Forest, it's on TV. All our games are on TV at the moment. Sunday, kickoff 2:15. You can watch the game at the NAV if you're not travelling down to the Olympic Stadium. You probably get a better atmosphere at the NAV, not in general, not from our fans. So, yeah, enjoy the day there if you don't have a ticket. Right, Taiwo, he's undergone this urgent abdominal surgery, Temps. Poor guy. I suppose we should start by obviously wishing him well. He has the most wretched luck, doesn't he? I mean, I actually think, well done to him for coming back on and giving it a go, because it sounds like it's real messy business and he's going to be out for quite a while.
Yeah, he's got a serious injury there. And look, it has fizzled out for Taiwo, hasn't it? But I just wanted to reflect on that 22-23 season where his contribution kept us in the Premier League. He scored our first Premier League goal since 1999 in that win versus West Ham. He scored the goal when we beat Liverpool at the City Ground, tapped in that square pass from Brennan to beat Southampton away. 2 goals when we beat Southampton 4-3. Those 2 headers against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. I've written these down if you can't tell already. This isn't all from memory. 1-0 via Arsenal at home, and the goal in the 1-1 against Palace on the final day, which was such a memorable day, albeit with safety already secured at that point off the back of Taiwo. He scored 6 goals as we took 8 points from the final 4 games of that season. So that should never be forgotten. Start the 23-24 season on fire, 3-3. But since then, it's fizzled out. And it's going to be quite sad if his final impact in a Forest shirt was sustaining that injury from a cross in which Anthony Elanga was obviously offside earlier in the move. It could have been flagged and stopped, as has been mentioned elsewhere in mainstream football media. So, yeah, I feel bad that he hasn't been able to build on that obvious potential and quality that he showed in his first season, because he looked like a proper Premier League striker at that point in time. The manner in which it's unfolded over the last 48 hours, I think, is regrettable. I gave my opinion on owner on the pitch on after the game. I think that's the kind of conversation which is totally natural and normal, but should happen behind closed doors. I don't think any statement was needed beyond the fact that our striker has suffered a relatively serious injury. He's had to undergo a procedure, and we wish him well. So yeah, it's a bit of a sorry end for him, isn't it? It does kind of feel that his Forest days could be over, but never forget that contribution that he made in the 22-23 season with 10 goals, which drove results in games that kept us in the Premier League. I don't think we'd still be here if it wasn't for Taiwo's contribution that season.
Yeah, it's such a shame. There was a spell where he was scoring goals for fun. That goal away to Palace on the last day where he turned a couple of defenders and smashed it in, and he wasn't really celebrating goals because he was just scoring so freely. And it's a real shame how it's descended from there. You wouldn't have seen it coming at all. But yeah, I feel bad for him, certainly. And there's a thing in the Mail that's just come out while you were talking earlier saying that he played on with something a condition that could have proved fatal in other circumstances. And they don't say what it is, which is fair enough. And we've heard it's pretty rough, and he's going to be out for quite a while, so we can only wish him well. Let's put up this statement then from the club that Temps has referenced. This came out about 5 minutes before we went live, so people on Twitter are really loving it, by the way. I've had a quick look at the response to it. I'm very happy. I shan't read it all out. In fact, I probably will, actually. I'll read from the second paragraph. The seriousness of Taiwo's injury is a powerful reminder of the physical risks of the game and why player health always comes first. At Nottingham Forest, the principle is not just a policy for us, it's deeply held belief, the conviction of our owner. To Evangelos Marinakis, this isn't a football club, it's family, and he instills that message in all of us. That's why he was so personally and emotionally invested in the situation as it unfolded at the City Ground on Sunday. His reaction was one of deep care, responsibility, and emotional investment in one of our own. He didn't just see it as an isolated incident, but something that reflected the values and unity of the team. In moments like this, he demonstrates his leadership, not just through words, but through actions and presence. In the final 10 minutes of the game, when he saw our player clearly in discomfort, struggling in visible pain, it became increasingly difficult for him to stay on the sidelines. His deep frustration at seeing our player lying on the ground in severe pain, something no one with genuine care could ignore, triggered him to go onto the pitch. It was instinctive, human, and a reflection of just how much this team and its people mean to him. He'd do the same again if such an unfortunate event were ever to reoccur. The truth is there was no confrontation with Nuno or with others, either on the pitch or inside the stadium. There was only shared frustration between all of us that the medical team should never have allowed the player to continue. In the light of this, we urge former players and coaches and other public figures in the game to resist the urge to rush to judgment and fake news online, especially when they do not have the full facts and context. Baseless and ill-informed outrage for the purposes of personal social media traction serves no one, least of all the injured player. We call on these influential voices to show the same respect for player welfare that they often demand from others. Let concern come before commentary. Nottingham Forest, we believe the mental and physical well-being of our players and coaching staff must always take precedence over media narratives, inflammatory judgment, and certainly over self-promotion. In moments like these, the game must unite around those who put their bodies and minds on the line every week. That's what real leadership looks like in our game. The only names missing from that are Neville and Carragher, I think. Temps, what are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I thought you read that like you'd been invited to read the bedtime story on CBBC. I thought your tone and diction was exemplary, so well done on that. The PR machinery is at work, but that's fine. He owns the place and entitled to do that. And I think he generally does care about the players, obviously, but that wasn't necessarily what was being discussed on the pitch after the game. I think that conversation between Marinakis and Nuno is entirely normal. It probably happens after every game. And it happens between most managers, owners, chairs, chief execs, whatever, just needs to be behind closed doors. One point I want to make is if anyone now has been kind of put out to dry a little bit, it's the medical team. And I'm a friend of the Forest physio, and before he became my friend, he was the physio at our club, and he's the best. He's absolutely exceptionally brilliant at his job. cares about the boys, would do anything for them, hardworking, like he's amazing CV, all the places he's worked, things he's done. And these guys are asked to make snap judgments based on what the player is telling them without having seen replays, without any access to any kind of scans, imaging or medical implementation, in the heat of battle, when the player is often saying, I'm fine, patch me up, get me back out there. And that's what's happened here. And as is the case with offside, ball in and out of play, whatever it might be, there exists this corridor where the decision to go one way or the other is so marginal, one has to be made. And look, it's proved with the benefit of all of that machinery and diagnostics that Taiwo wasn't fit to carry on. He'd have said he was at the time. That shouldn't be put on anybody's shoulders, and shouldn't be the source of this kind of level of public debate and scrutiny when someone is being asked under that time pressure to make a shout. So I feel for those guys. You know, I hope they're okay, because this is being played out very, very publicly. I don't think that statement was necessarily needed. There was certainly no malice from Forest fans towards Nuno or the owner. I think we all just accept, yeah, fine, heat of battle, two blokes that really want to win more than anything and care about our football club as much as we do. Just having watched the last 10 minutes of the derby unfurl in exactly the opposite way to which they would have hoped and planned. So I hope that is the end of it now. I wish Taiwo a very, very quick recovery, and I hope he's able to get back to full health as soon as possible. But let's look forward, get on with supporting our team, and yeah, just take a moment when these kind of things happen, not to apportion blame, but to accept that marginal calls have to be made, and they're never going to be right given the circumstances that I've just described.
Lovely. I like that, Temps. Good statement. Let's dip into the live chat, see what people made of it. Some mixed views. Trump-esque. Excellent club statements. I see quite a lot of people liking it on Twitter. Heard less propaganda from Kim Jong-un. I do watch some of Donald Trump's cabinet meeting clips on social media, and they are fulsome in their praise of our leader, or their leader, I should say. Forest do love a statement, indeed. Yeah, make the medical team great again. The Trump thing's going over quite well there in the comments, certainly. And there was one other. Thank you, Steve, for recognising my huge effort of reading that. The comments that on my BetterHelp ad read were cutting, so I really thought I'd better lay it on thick with the emotion of that club statement that was clearly pervading through it, indeed. There you go. Let's leave the Trump stuff. Well said, Temp, says Kevin. There you go. No love for Gary Neville as well. Punditry's evolving, isn't it? We're going off on a tangent. I wonder if the Neville Carragher all-out brashness, are people getting a bit tired of it? I don't know.
I mean, Nev's got a bit of a vendetta against Forest, hasn't he? Having been challenged the last time, he made a immediate response to one of our statements. But I don't know. I'd like to think we represent the more considered end of the football debate, and we don't need to shout and scream after these kind of things happen. It's all part and parcel of the passion of the game that we all love, isn't it? But don't think too much into it. Enjoy the game, celebrate the wins, mourn the losses. But this endless level of debate and one-upmanship and polarization of opinions on Twitter and the like isn't really for me.
Yeah, I agree about the statement as well. I don't know why. It feels like we're fueling the argument as well. And Neville and Carragher will absolutely love it as well, by the way, won't they? They'll think it's great. Yeah. People are liking it. There you go. Right, I think we'll leave it there. Anything to add, Temps, before we depart?
No, I definitely do feel a little bit better now than I did in the immediate aftermath of the Leicester game. It really got me for some reason. I think because I'd blindly expected us to win. But yeah, two games to go. I'll be at both of them. And what was it Cluppy said? Hope no one's daft enough to write us off.
Yeah, I'll be at the Chelsea game. Looking forward to it. just maybe a twist this weekend. I can't see it, if I'm honest. We'll do a match preview. I think it's really important we finish this season strongly with a couple of decent performances, no matter what happens. So we'll have a preview on that on Thursday. We'll have an interview with Paul Anderson tomorrow as well, and then an opposition preview, and maybe a guest before the game on Sunday if everything comes together. But if not, we'll certainly have a post-match show. So if you've enjoyed this, do us a favour, hit like, hit subscribe. Do consider membership or Patreon. Great to have 350 people with us. I was going to have a day off today, but it's been quite newsworthy. Mostly wishing poor Taiwo well, though. That's the main thing for today, I think. Temps, thank you very much.
Cheers, Matt. Speak to you soon.
Yeah, speak to you soon. Have a good day, everyone. If we don't see you tomorrow, we shall see you soon.
Mobile's ringing.